Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson I'm pulling from my book of stuff that you guys have been sending me, and one of the common questions that's coming up is how to do an artist trading card. And I've done so many videos on that, but sometimes they can get really complicated, so I thought I would do something so simple, okay? The supplies that I'm using, really, you can pick up anywhere. So for example, I'm going to be using this stamp, and I just picked this random stamp up on Amazon, but go to the dollar store, see, because what I'm looking for is just random shapes. I don't care. It doesn't matter about brand or whatever, just random shapes. Don't have a stamp? Get yourself a permanent marker and you can draw this stuff in. Use a Q-tip, okay? Toothpick, it doesn't matter. So just random shapes. And then I've got this little paper doll. This is a Tim Holtz doll. You can go to, so if you flip it, okay, look at the shape. Google free silhouette people and see what you can come up with. Graphics Fairy has a lot of free resources, and what you can do is take them and you can print them out and then cut them out and then paint them black if you wanted to just do a silhouette, or to get something that's an actual person. I'm going to use this beautiful little girl like this. I'm not going to do it as a silhouette, but you could do it as a silhouette. So graphicsfairy.com is a phenomenal place to get free resources. And then for the paint, I'm going to be using Decor Media Gesso. This is the white gesso, and the matte medium for gluing. And then for the paints, I'm going to be using Decor Media Fluid Acrylics Naphtha Red Light, Peril Orange, Carbon Black, and Titanium White. This I may not even need, but we'll see. So a red, an orange, a black, and a white. And the red and orange, the red is a Naphtha Red Light, leans towards orange, and Peril Orange is a base orange. I don't like making oranges with red and yellow because they turn out muddy. And for the actual substrate, it's a 2.5 by 3.5 piece of 140 pound watercolor paper. Don't have watercolor paper? Use packaging from food boxes, okay, as long as we're going to prime them with gesso. And for the stamp, I'm going to use StazOn, which is a solvent ink, but like I said, you don't have to. I could use paint, but I actually lost one of my really good stencils because I didn't clean it. I was putting it in acrylics, and I just like the effect once you lift the stamp up, but I didn't clean it right away, and it got all dried up with acrylic, so I have it soaking right now. So until I get myself some type of routine where I can have a container, not on the table because I've got too much electronics going on, have some type of container with water I can throw my stamps in without me getting to it, I'm going to be using the ink. And then I've got just some words. I mean, words like this, you can go onto your computer, print it out, print it, cut it out. That's fine. I'm using these to save time. But I have my quote already picked out. You'll have to see at the end. All right, so first thing is watercolor paper. You can use Bristol stock, doesn't matter. In its raw form, it'll take the paint and then you can't do anything with it. So that's why I use gesso to prime everything. And I'm going to get a simple palette knife. You can apply it with a brush, but you can also just put it on with a palette knife, just like this. Gesso is used to prime paper, but when we're talking about mixed media, we're using it more as a paint product, not as to really prime paper. You can, obviously, but then you would have to, you're supposed to let gesso cure. But for mixed media, I like using it to put a base on, so the paper doesn't soak up all the paint, but also to have a nice even surface to work on. And I've got something on there. So, and then you let it dry. Okay, that's a lot of time wasting. You kind of sit here and wait and wait and wait. Do these in batches. Set up a whole bunch of stuff and just prime them all with gesso. And then when they're dry, you put them in a little container. I've got a little box here like this. And that way, when you're ready to create, you bring one out that's already been primed. That you're not having to lose your creativity because you're waiting for something like this. All right. And then I'm just going to... Oops, forgot to change my paper. This is actual color blending paper. Oh well. Well, let's say you only have the one card. What do? Get a heat gun or a hair blower and just speed up the drying time. And what I do is I leave my hands close by, and if my hands can take the heat, it's fine. Otherwise, if it gets too hot, I just pull the heat gun away from the paper, because you don't want to burn the paper or the medium. And see how it's curling? This is watercolor paper. It's meant to soak up water. So it's going to keep curling like that, and once the water has all been evaporated, it's going to flatten out. But for our purposes, we don't have to wait. Done. Now this paper, what I did, I don't know if you noticed, is I actually cut it on my paper cutter. And then I left the deckled edge. When you buy watercolor paper, the outside edges are raw like this. And that's what I wanted. So I'm just going to leave it on the bottom. Alrighty. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to paint. So I'm going to get my Naphtha red light. And even that's too much. I don't need that much. And my Pyrrole orange. And yeah, I must get the carbon black out now. Oh, I did forget. Where are we? Ooh, burnt umber for the edges. Oh, I see now. This is where some of my nitpick. I don't like putting my paints out in a different order, so I'm going to put that one there. Joe says that's OCD tendencies. To me, it's not OCD tendencies. To me, I've spent years since I was in art school laying my paints out in a certain order, especially when painting outside, because you have to be able to act fast. So my paints always go in the right order. That way I don't have to search and search and search. That's why I also put my paints out like this, in the same order that I lay them out. You'll notice in some videos where if I don't put my paints out in the same order, I actually struggle to find out where they are. So that's just my method. It doesn't matter, whatever you use, it doesn't matter. It's whatever makes it easier. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you know what? I was going to paint first, then stamp, but I wonder what it would be like if I stamped first, then painted. No. So I'm just going to spray this with a little bit of water. And just take a baby wipe, just dampen it. You don't want it soaking wet, just slightly damp. And a damp brush. I'm going to start with orange first. And wet on wet. Then go right into the red. Work quickly. Okay, I'm going to spray it again. Now I'm going to take a paper towel. Preferably one that's textured like this. Just gently press. Don't press too hard. You don't want to remove everything. Get something like that. Now, this here, you can use that for something else. You don't have to throw it away. Okay, I let this dry just for a little bit. I'm going to repeat the step again, and this where I look at this now, where do I want the colors? I want it to be a little bit more yellow around where the little girl's going to be. Now with this here, I was saying before, if you have cheap cardboard, throw paint on here, take a paper towel, dip, just to get a nice pattern, and then cut this out and glue this onto thin cardboard, and there's your backing. It'll help make your piece much stronger. So put a little bit there. Now I'm going to work more with the orange. Whoopsie. And take a little bit of the red. Take a little bit more water in there. Okay, and oh, you know what? Let's try this. I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, it will work. Rubbing alcohol. Come on. Just don't inhale it. Rubbing alcohol creates these such interesting patterns. Now, public safety warning. If you use rubbing alcohol, do not use a heat gun. I did that. What was I doing? I was creating a base for a piece of resin jewelry and I wasn't thinking. And I was using alcohol inks and it actually caught fire. So if you want to use something on here, use a hairdryer on the lowest setting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use white. Oops, there is white there. And I'm going to pick some of that up. I'd like to use a toothbrush while it's still wet. And what's going to happen is going to go into those little starbursts. Neat, eh? And this, I'm going to let that dry naturally. And then from here is we do our stamping. Now, again, if you don't have a stamp, just use the back of a paintbrush and dip into the paint, and you can dip. Okay, do little circles, make little lines, whatever, just to create some type of background. You know, well, that's fine. But check out to see what's available at the dollar store. I get a lot of my stamps at Len's Mill. That's where I get my fabric. I get a lot of stuff there because they have they buy when companies. They're called jobbers, and they have inventory that they get rid of, you know, whether it's a new season or whatever. So Len's Mill buys a lot of that stuff, and they have half the building is their fabric, and the other half is everything under the sun, kitchen, clothes, crafts, all that stuff. And they have a lot of stamps that are really, really nice, but they're out of date, you know. But some of the stuff, like this though, I did buy it on Amazon. I think I paid $9 for it. This is so abstract, it doesn't really matter. I could use this now for 5 years or 10 years. So, you know, just have to do that. See how it's starting to set up? All right, so I'm going to let that dry. And then when we come back, I'm going to do some stamping. And we're going to glue the little girl on and then put on the sentiment. All right. Oh, and let me get a block for that. So just a little acrylic block. Just helps stamp flat. I am by no means a stamping expert. So I'm just going to right about here. Like that. And I'll take this piece here and just that. There we go. Now, I gotta clean my stamp right now. With some of this stuff here, if you find that the stamp is a little strong, you can turn around. And you might not get it right away, but just take your paper towel that's been dipped into a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and you can just pad. Make sure you kind of go onto a clean side. See, I just kept going with the same spot, and you might be able to lift some of it up. I waited too long, but you know what I mean, right? Just it'll help take some of the stuff off. Now I'm going to go to, which is going to be the better one, the little one. So what I should have done was go on here, go onto the paper towel, then go onto the card. By stamping on the paper towel, a dry paper towel, you remove a lot of the excess ink. My bad. But you know what? Like I said, I am not an expert when it comes to stamping. So Some of the stuff that you guys stamp is just unbelievably amazing. It's a little bit strong, right? So what's something we can do? The pattern here is very strong. Once that's dry, what we can do is we can take some gesso or even some white acrylic paint and really thin it down, and just to go over, which will set it back, and then apply the paint again. That's one thing you can do. But let's just see. See, that really interferes with the, it's quite bright. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the heat gun and I'm going to dry this before applying the titanium white. And what I'm going to do first, let me think. Yeah, no. Where are my cloths? Normally what I would do is put some matte medium on this. Put some matte medium on that. But we should be okay. The matte medium creates a barrier, so this doesn't get absorbed right into the paper. See, there's always a way around things. I'm just going to go down just a little bit. I don't want to cover that ground line. I don't want to cover that up. And this, once I have my first layer down, let it dry, and then do another layer if necessary. See the difference? But I'm still going to add color to that. Just dry this. And I'm going to go to another piece here. I'm just going to get some water in there. I really want to set that back. The other thing I could have done, and I actually have it on order, is some vellum. You can put a translucent vellum on top of this. That's actually pretty good right there. Now I'm going to dry this again. And this part here has to be pure. It has to be bone dry. It has to be bone dry for this next step to work properly. Because now what we're going to do, we're going to repeat exactly what we did before. So with the orange, then with the red, except, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put water down first. Oops. Okay, paper towel. See how it's just adding that layer to not it's less white and it's more color. So if I missed a spot there, but that's okay. Now I'm going to spray some water. Okay. And then some red around the outside edge. Go right over that. I'm going to make it a little bit darker around her. Now let's see if this will. Those splotches are a little bit big. A little bit big. Okay. That's a bit too much paint. Just get some variation there. Okay, gonna let that dry. And then we're going to take this little girl and I'm going to put some carbon black around the edge, or maybe some burnt umber, just so we don't see that cut side of the paper. And then matte medium over everything, and I'm going to glue her down, and then I'm going to put the sentiment on there, and then basically edge the card, and it's finished. All right, so I'm going to take some burnt umber, blot in a paper towel, and try with the brush first. This is much more accurate, but it takes so much time. And you can also do this if you want to create a little vintage edge. I do this technique a lot with transparent red iron oxide, quinacridone burnt orange, and transparent yellow iron oxide. Now these little paper dolls, they are coated, so if I were to get some paint on like that, I just simply have to wipe it off. But at the same time, I could, and I've done that with, I did, what was it? Long Distance Wedding, I think was the project, where I actually painted the bouquet of flowers the guy was holding with Prussian blue, or phthalo blue. And it does hold paint. So now that's with the brush. Now if I wanted to use something like this, and then just do the same thing. This works much faster, but you have to be careful. I can't get into the little nitty-gritty parts. It's really, I can only do the large parts that are exposed, that are easy to get to. See? Creates that nice little edge. It puts some separation between the cutout and the actual background. Then I can use the brush to get in. And if I get on the back, it doesn't matter. Oh, and don't do it over that. I can be such a tool sometimes. And this is I'm gonna probably take another minute to do this, so you can fast forward to the next section if you don't want to see the rest of this part. Now, if you were, there's also a type of artist trading card that you can actually sell. I think it's called ACEOs, I think. I'm not sure, so if I got that wrong, please correct me in the comments. Where you can sell these. But ATCs for trading, those you don't sell. They're used for trading only. I don't know if there's different rules or different guidelines. To me, art is art, so. There we go. She's beautiful. Look at that. It's got that nice outline. All right, so I'm going to put that aside to dry for a sec, and I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to put a layer of the matte medium over the entire card. I should have did this first to let it dry and then come back and add another layer. So if you wanted your card to be shiny, what you can do is after everything's done is you can give everything a varnish, or you can use a heavy gel medium and just apply that instead of using matte medium. And you can also use double-sided tape to glue her down. I like using matte medium for this, or liquid glass. I've used E6000 for some stuff that just didn't want to stay glued. Okay. I'm going to position her right on top of these little pieces here. Beauty. Now, a lot of you use distress inks. Just keep in mind that distress inks are water soluble. So if I were to, put matte medium over it, it would come off. By using actual paint for doing all my work, it's permanent. It's not going to come off. So what I do, I know there's a bit of a shine, but what I like to do is just go around to clean up any of the parts. See, her foot's coming up. You have to hold that down for a sec. Go around, and what I'm doing is I'm picking up excess and at the same time kind of pushing any of the medium right to the very edge. It creates that seal. And these are also nice little things to create for nice little gifts. You can, it's tags. You can put, punch a hole here, and it's a nice little tag for giving as a gift. These don't always have to be used for artist trading cards. So now what I'm doing, I'm just feathering over, diagonal, then I change the direction. And what I'm doing, see on here, now watch. See how you see that line going this way? As I'm feathering over, what I'm doing is I'm removing the brush marks. Now for me, I don't really care if the brush marks are visible. What I don't want to see is ridges, like heavy ridges like this. But brush marks, I don't mind. Because to me, when I see brush marks on something that are authentic brush marks, that tells me that it was handmade. And to me, that's worth its weight in gold. Not stuff that's manufactured in mass production. So the stickers, these are clipping stickers from Tim Holtz. And like I said, you can just print stuff online. You can, if you Google fortune cookie quotes, fortune cookie printables, quote stickables. There's another brainy quote. We'll actually have quotes from people. You can take those, print them off, and then just glue them on. So I was looking at all this stuff here, and there's a couple of quotes in here, or a couple of words that I really liked. She could believe. Absolutely loved that one, and it's kind of a tan color. And this one here, nice girl from good home. I'm not quite sure what the meaning of that is. That's, I don't know about that one. Nice girl from good home. But now, where was the other one? Where's the other one? Contented Spirit was the other one, but the one I wanted was on here. Oh, To Dreamland. That's the one I want to use. So before I can put that on, that has to dry. So I'm just going to help it along here. And what I don't want to do is heat up this area here because there's matte medium underneath. That's going to have to dry naturally. You can't speed that up. And now I'm going to take the sticker off. And it's too big. So all I'm going to do is just take my scissors. The other thing was, what I want to do, and I always have trouble, is I want to put a border on that, but it's so finicky. I always end up making a mess. If I actually do that. I don't even know where I'm actually putting it down on. I just want to remove that edge. I'm going to have to do it twice though. But what I could do on this is just glue it onto some cardstock, cut the cardstock, and then put that edging on there. And I'm going to get rid of the period after that. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Now with these quotes, especially the really, really light ones, you can also put a wash of paint on that to get off me. Okay. There. How simple is that? So, in looking at this now, thinking, okay, there's an awfully big empty spot there. You can take anything you want to put it there. If there's something that you think would contribute to this, what I, looking at this now, and what I see, a butterfly, but there is something that I like even better. There's something I like even better. I should have that. I think that is adorable. Wouldn't that be so sweet? A little puppy. Proportion-wise, I'm trying to think. I don't know if that's proportioned to a little girl that small. I think that dog might be a little bit big. What do you guys think? So, puppy or butterfly? I'm thinking the puppy. I'm going to add that little puppy in there. Let's do that. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh. So we got to repeat the steps again. Take your time. I rush through this stuff every time I want to add something. And one of the, well, now I don't care anymore. One of the things that really bothered me when reading some of the comments was that I take too long or I talk too much. My whole purpose of this YouTube channel is I don't make any, I don't charge for classes and that. My whole thing is to teach beginners, how to express themselves with art. And with that, you need explanation. So if you're watching this and you find I'm talking too much, speed up the video. If you know it, then obviously you don't need to listen to me, so just speed up the video. I would rather have you speed up the video and, whatever, but I don't want a beginner watching this and going, okay, I did not understand. Mind you, can always ask questions if you don't understand something, but it's the beginners who I teach for. And, for those that aren't beginners, to give inspiration, to give different ideas. That's my job. I stopped teaching because I don't need to do it anymore. So this is my way of giving back. Just put matte medium right over that. And while I'm here, I'm going to put another layer of matte medium over the little girl. Makes it stronger. Take our puppy, should be dry now. And if you want to add some color to these, there's some of the cutouts, or depending on if you print something that, let's say they're just black and white, you can tint it with some color, like transparent yellow iron oxide is nice. And I'm going to bring him forward a little bit. Right there. How's that? That seal on there. Oh, this is so pretty. So the only thing left now to do is, and now I should wait for this to dry, but I'm going to do this now. Whoops, I need a little cosmetic sponge. And I'm going to go into, find a flat side, not a cut side. Go into carbon black. Load that up really well. Bounce that off on a paper towel. And this could be any color. It could have been the raw umber, could have been burnt umber. I wanted to use black to pull off her hair and the dog's nose and her shoes. I like to try to tie things in together. And this is just a nice way to go over. Now see how I went quite a bit in there? Because I put matte medium on here, if I had let the matte medium dry, I could actually have wiped that back. But I like that vignette look. And do this slow. So first you're just going to do the edges. Then you're just going to touch, push, lift, touch, push, lift, touch, push, lift. Very little pressure. You can always add, but it's you can't take away. And it's the angle that you're holding the sponge. That makes the difference. But you really should, if you can, let the card fully dry first. That way, if you do happen to put too much on here, you can wipe it back. Now the torn edge, I can leave the torn edge the way it is, or just take this. I'd like to burn the paper, but Joe won't let me play with fire anymore. And just go like that. It was fine when one of our best friends was firefighter, and he was just down the road, but he retired. No, I wasn't that bad. There we go, we're all finished. I had to put this on an angle because of there's the shine. This is from that paper, so I've got a little piece of washi tape. There we go. So how cute is that? So very simple, little piece of watercolor paper and some alternatives to using a stamp. And what I'll do is, I know I'm going to get questions, and I love the questions you guys are sending me by email, is I will do a version of this without using any stamps. I'll do everything with a paintbrush and paint, but I'll still use some cutouts in that, and that's it. So it'll give you another way of doing it, so you don't have to invest in stamps if you don't have any. All right, so let me know what you think. Comment below, if you would have chosen different colors or some ideas for other projects. I read every single comment and answer every single email. All right, so until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.